Davis. I'm a private chef and a cooking instructor. I live here in Los Angeles, and I have been a cook. Well, I started when I was 8, but I've been a professional cook since about the year 2000. Is that gonna?
No, it's okay.
Okay. Anyway, I've been a professional cook since 2000 when I finished cooking school at the New School of Cooking. I have a husband and 2 kids, and my most favorite thing to do is cook for people and make them happy. I really believe that food is nurture, food is love, and it's our sustenance that takes us through the day. And if you have great meals and fun food with great people, you're really, you're really happy. So what I'm going to do for you today is I'm going to make some appetizers for a little gathering. I'm going to make some guacamole. I'm going to make these little southern cheesy things. I'm from the South. Everything I do has a little bit of the South in it. I can cook really healthy, I can cook clean, but something about it is going to feel a little comfortable, a little southern for you. So let's get started. I always use a white onion for guacamole or anything Mexican because I think that it lends a more authentic flavor to it. And I don't use a whole lot of fresh onion for it because I don't want it to be overpowering, but it does give it a nice texture and a nice taste. So I'm going to use about 3 slices for these avocados right here. I've got, 5 little ones and 2 normal medium-sized ones. When I went to school to learn to cook, it was because I had been cooking all my life, but I knew that I needed to fill in the holes because I knew what I knew, but I didn't know everything. So after I got married, my husband said, what do you want to do? And I heard a great ad or great talk show on the radio, 2 women who had started cooking school in Los Angeles. And I went down there and I talked to them and I came back with a job working as an assistant to the teaching chefs and also an ability to learn. They let me swap to do the programs, and it was fantastic. It was Ann Smith and Karen Hillenberg, and they've since sold the New School of Cooking, but it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. So you want to put a fine mince on these onions. Karen was the first chef that I worked for, and she taught me the importance of good knife skills. I think any chef will tell you that if you don't have good knife skills, it's not only dangerous, but your food doesn't taste as good because then your things come out uneven, and so they don't cook evenly, and they don't feel good in your mouth. So I'm a firm believer in teaching great knife skills. As a matter of fact, when I'm teaching people how to cook, the first class I give them is a class in knife skills. You also don't want to cut off your hands. I learned it the hard way. But the first day that I worked at the New School, I had been a vegetarian for years, and I had to break down all these beef bones for stock and chicken bones for stock. And then I had to cut a pile of shallots that was as big as your head, and I got distracted. I looked away while I was cutting. I try not to do that anymore because I cut the top of my finger off. But I learned the importance of having a really sharp knife, because if I hadn't had a really sharp knife, then the cut would have been really bad. This was nice and clean and easy to take care of at the emergency room. So yeah, you want to have great knife skills. I'm sure everybody knows the trick that after you've halved an avocado, you can use the knife to remove the pit, just like that. And when I make guac, one of the things that I like to do is cross hatch it.
What does that mean?
Well, I'm going to cut it like this. In the skin, first one way, and then the other. so that when I scoop it out with a spoon,
It's already.
ready to, it makes it an easier and smoother mix. And again, there's more uniformity in the way that it sits in your mouth, for lack of a better word. You know, you want a few little chunks. I do, for a little texture. My husband always laughs at me because I always say when I'm telling him or anybody else how to cook, you know, cut it the way that you want it to be in your mouth. What do you want to be in your mouth? He thinks that's a little dirty.
I was just thinking about it.
But it's true. Think about what you want to put in your mouth.
And how do you want it to feel?
And how you want it to feel when you're cooking.
I love that.
So, do all that. I don't know. Growing up in the South, we had a fabulous lady who cooked for us, and her name was Rachel.
White or black?
She was black. It was like The Help, only with the nice people. We had Rachel and we had Easter, and they taught me so much. They taught me about, you know, really food being the nurturing thing in your life. And just like in the movie, like Water for Chocolate, I really believe that what you're feeling and what you're going through while you're cooking goes into that food. I even had a boyfriend who used to call me Gertrudis.
Gertrudis.
Yes, excuse me. Gertrudis. But growing up in the South, what I was going to say a minute ago, I learned the importance of entertaining early and often, and nurturing people through food. If you make them feel comfortable in your house and well loved, and give them a nice full belly, they'll have a great experience, and they'll remember you fondly.
And they'll hire you back.
And they will hire you back. You know, my mom did not like to cook, which is why we had these fabulous women who worked for us. And my father used to say, thank goodness for Rachel and thank goodness for Betsy. Because then he knew that he would never go hungry. Not that they really let me do a lot, but I did make a birthday cake for him when I was 8 years old. So excited about it. I was going to make him my favorite chocolate cake. And I got up and Mom got all the ingredients for me. And I'll be damned if it didn't fall apart when I took it out of the oven. Tasted great, but it fell apart. Being the perfectionist I was, I made another one. And you know what happened? It fell apart too. And I cried and I cried and I cried, and my dad assured me that it was the most delicious cake that he'd ever had. And it took me a little while to get back in the saddle, but I did. You know, I used to help my mom plan menus. I planned a Thanksgiving menu when I was 9. I still have it. She saved it. We save everything around here. And so yeah, I started then. But when my dad used to say things like, thank goodness for Betsy, I knew that there was a correlation between making great food and making people happy. And how can that be bad? That one's small. Okay, this one doesn't want to turn loose, so we're just going to put it right there. Now that that's done,
What does your hat says? The Saucy Redhead?
the Saucy Redhead. It's the name of my company. When I decided that I would hang my shingle out, I walked upstairs and my husband was reading the newspaper. I said, honey, I need a name for my business. And he was sitting there and tipped the paper down and was like, how about the Saucy Redhead? That's who you are, isn't it? But yes, it is. That is who I am. So here we go. We want to make sure that we put plenty of salt in. As well, avocado is delicious and creamy. It has a subtle flavor, and salt is a pointer. It points out the flavor of whatever you're cooking. And one of my friends from the Southwest assured me that using garlic powder for guac is much better because you never know how strong those garlic cloves are going to be. So I use garlic powder for my guacamole. And I use a tiny bit of chili oil. And a tiny bit of lime oil because the flavor's great, it's consistent, and the oil helps to keep the avocados from turning brown.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I whisk it because it helps to mix it really evenly, and it also leaves you a few chunks. I learned that at a party for like 300 people, and I had to make guac, and I was like, I can't mash this with a fork. So I grabbed a giant whisk, and it turned out just perfectly. I don't know what I did in the South before I had good guacamole. I don't think I ever had it, but I've lived here for 20 years, so I have enjoyed it ever since. And in LA, in the land of I'm gluten-free and I'm dairy intolerant and I don't like sugar and I'm vegan and all those things, makes everybody happy.
It's so healthy.
It is, it's healthy. And it's yummy. Now, whether you decide to dip carrot sticks into it or grate chips, that's another thing entirely, but I love chips with my guac. And I love to put it on dishes too. You know. And it makes a great salad dressing. You can thin it with some sour cream and add some herbs to it. And it's an absolutely yummy salad dressing. And it gives things sort of a Southwestern flair. Now, after you make your guac, I take a sheet of saran wrap, and I don't just cover the top. I cover every crevice because oxygen, while it's great for us, is not great for food, not great for the longevity of baked goods or for things that brown like guac.
What do you have in the oven?
Well, I don't just do appetizers. I don't just do hors d'oeuvres. I also do real food. And that, I believe, is my roast chicken telling me that it's ready. But first, I want to make sure this is good and covered. There. Now, grab this. I'm going to move this out of the way. Oh yeah. There we go. We've got a nice roast chicken and some chicken pieces. I always roast my chicken on a bed of vegetables.